In the VoiceThread, which I found to be a very useful tool, in certain groups of students who take that technology seriously and really try to work with it, did some very good work, very collaborative, active, engaged collaborative work, and developed a sort of a sense of community that was visible, developing over the course of the semester. Okay, so a nice job by Karen in the second of our VoiceThread postings for this assignment. One thing I'd suggest here is Karen does a very good job sort of giving us a recap of what the various primary and secondary sources say. In that instance, I felt like I was actually teaching. My VoiceThread assignments are they have to read, in this case, they have to read 3 chapters of a supplemental text, and then they each have to write an essay. And it's a short one, a two-page essay draft. And that within a writing group, a small group of students, they have to cover all 3 chapters of the reader. So after they've done their draft, they post that to VoiceThread, and then they have to offer comments on 3 other drafts. You really need to say, what I mean by a comment is, and it contains this kind of, it's substantive and constructive and specific, and then give them an example. So that's one of the, make a VoiceThread and pretend you're a student and give them examples and models. As the comments are coming in, I sort of pop up on each of the writing group's VoiceThreads and say, well, that's a good comment, but be a little bit more specific. Can you think of evidence that might help to support this point of view, or are there areas of that you could suggest specific revisions, and or to say, I think so-and-so's comment is right on, and this is exactly what I'm looking for. The problem in any setting is that you're going to have students who are not engaged, and whether they're showing up in class and just sitting there sort of with a dazed look, who aren't responding to questions, who aren't participating in discussion. And so the thing about VoiceThread is they must do that. But again, I don't want to sound like I'm owning stock in VoiceThread, but they can either do some of them prefer to do a voice comment, others prefer to type text, and it does give them a little bit more flexibility in how they're choosing to engage with each other. You can't just assume ever that students just know how to do the things you want them to do. And again, in an online setting, it's even harder because they're alone in their bedroom or wherever they are, and that's an even more difficult challenge for them to ask for help. So you really need to make sure all of that kind of help and support is right there next to the assignment. You start to realize that so many things about the way we design our syllabi are based on having these brief, intense classroom meetings, and we try to imagine that all of the teaching and learning are happening in those moments when it's not. And so in a lot of ways, in some of my other classes now, I'm using online tools to have them essentially doing assignments out of class and spending class time talking about how I guess they call this flipping the classroom or whatever, but using class time to talk about the process of trying to complete those assignments. So that is something that I brought to my face-to-face classes that I sort of learned when I was doing the online thing.